Hello and welcome to the Telegraph studio and Business Reporter's Performance Improvement Campaign, hosted by the Telegraph Online. I'm Alistair Greener. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that the majority of organisations today are facing a leadership crisis. Research suggests that in organisations all over the world, there's a sense that the quality and effectiveness of leadership has never been more important to future success. But at the same time, organisations are struggling to find and develop the leadership talent that they need. There's a gap, and the bigger the gap, the more difficult it is for organisations to respond. We've invited David Williams from Impact to find out more about the best practices in leadership strategy. Good morning.
Good morning.
So why is there this leadership crisis?
Well, there is indeed a leadership crisis, and it's actually getting in the way of organisations executing on their strategy. I think there are three factors at issue here. The first is around disruptive change, the second is around people, and the third is around responsible leadership. In terms of disruptive change, globalisation, competition, new technology are all making it harder and harder for organisations to survive and thrive. They need to become more adaptable, they need to become more agile. In terms of people, organisations now need to recognise that it's people that make them different, and that is their main reason for being more competitive in the marketplace. So they have to work out how to engage with people and how to help people innovate as part of their organisation's future. And thirdly, regarding responsible leadership, I think people in the world now, customers and shareholders, are more interested in organisations that are going beyond purely making a profit and want to find out what organisations can do to be a force for good in the world.
So given how important leadership is, how would you actually define it?
Well, for me, leadership is not about a special kind of person, it's about a special kind of action. And that kind of explains our philosophy. It's not about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know.
So what do you mean by action in a leadership context?
I think it's about recognising that anyone can be a leader, and it's about recognising that to be a good leader, you have to first of all notice when leadership is required. You then have to decide what kind of intervention to make, and then you then most importantly need to have the courage to act upon that.
So given the fact that it is possible for anyone to take this leadership action, why are organisations still struggling so much to get good leadership?
Well, I think there's a conflict here between a need for organisations to become more agile and to become more adaptable, and yet organisations still trying to use traditional methods of leadership to achieve that. So what we see are organisations that still have a top-down approach, organisations where leadership apparently only exists in the upper echelons. And what we're prescribing is much more of a dispersed form of leadership, a form of leadership where anyone in the organisation can and should take the lead in certain situations.
You talked there about you, so let's talk more about Impact. Where do you fit into this? How do you help organisations?
Well, we've been focused now on leadership development since we first began back in 1980. And clients tend to come to us for a number of different reasons. It may be because they're about to change strategy. It may be because they've gone through a merger or an acquisition, or it may be because they recognise that the way they're approaching leadership development at the moment is inappropriate for the kind of organisation they want to be in the future. The best way to illustrate this is through a few real case studies or real stories. First of all, we could look at an organisation that is a multinational, fast-moving consumer goods organisation, famous for producing sugary drinks and snacks. And they want to become famous for producing nutritional food that parents would be happy to see in the school lunchbox. You can imagine what a tremendous change in strategy and a tremendous change in leadership this requires, and a top-down approach is not appropriate. So we're working with this organisation to help them create a situation where leadership is emerging from all parts of the organisation to drive that change forward. A second example would be an organisation, a famous technology organisation, global, who are trying to grow their business by influencing the agencies that use their tools. In this case, the kind of intervention we've created with them is around producing a workshop through co-creation where we're blending technology skills and leadership skills together, using experiential ideas to help them influence their own customer base, to help their customer base understand better how to use their technology in the future. A third example would be a British national retailer employing over 70,000 people. Their objective is to accelerate the development of leaders through the organisation at each stage in the organisation, because they have a massive shortage of store managers, they have a massive shortage of logistics managers. And what we've done there is taken a very traditional approach to leadership development and made it more inclusive. So in the old way of working, there would be a senior manager leadership development program, there would be a middle manager leadership development program, and then there'd be another one for high potentials. We've taken all of that, thrown it in the air, and created what we call a web of interventions that anyone in the organisation can work out a journey through.
You've given us some great examples there, but why do organisations actually turn to you in the first place? What makes you unique?
Our philosophy is backed from academic rigour. However, the way we apply that is through experiential learning. And by that, what I mean is we create immersive experiences that enable people to really feel like they're in a real situation. And within those experiences, we create vacuums for leadership that people need to step into and take action. And we can then look at how that action resonated with the other people in the experience, in the simulation, and we can give feedback and we can develop skills from that point on. I think leadership development is very much about helping people to change their behaviour. And it's impossible for anyone else to change another person's behaviour. But what is possible is to give people the information they need to make a decision about how they would like to change. And most importantly, give them the desire to change. Show them that there is a better way. Show them that they can behave in a different way that will bring about a much better result than perhaps the way they were behaving beforehand.
I mean, it's fascinating hearing what you're talking about, but let's make this on a bigger scale. You know, global companies are complex. There's lots of issues that they particularly have. So what have you learned about leadership in global organizations?
What I've learned is that the most successful organizations, the most successful global organizations have mastered the skill of encouraging leadership to emerge from all parts of their business. And this is how they're able to manage a global business, you know, with a presence in 40 plus countries. This is how they've been able to innovate and develop new ideas and new technology at grassroots level. It's how they've been able to listen to what's happening in the marketplace and adapt and become agile and respond to that in a shorter time than their competitors. And I think that's down to dispersed leadership. It's down to a style of leadership that emerges throughout the organisation rather than that traditional top-down approach.
Now, you've been a leader of impact for, 37 years. So what have you learned in that time about leadership?
Exactly that, I think. I mean, our organisation operates in 17 countries around the world. Most of our clients are global. They have people from a huge number of different cultures across the organisation, across the world, and they're tapping into a level of diversity that is unique in the modern day world. And I think we as an organisation need to reflect that. So what I've tried to do is push down as far as I can responsibility and authority for running our business wherever we happen to be in the world. So my own approach has been to try and recruit people who share our values, but then to give them, after a period of development up front and a period of induction up front, to give them the wherewithal to lead our business in a way that best suits them wherever they are in the world.
Leadership has clearly never been so important for organisations to be able to execute their strategy and therefore for their leadership to take action. David Williams from Impact, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.